Bob here for the Old Iron Lover channel, and welcome back. And we're going to take a look today at disassembling and inspecting, repairing, reassembling, possibly restoring some pieces on this 1944 Briggs Stratton Model B engine. Well, I thought I'd show you my newest antique engine acquisition. This is a Briggs Stratton B model, and it is a 2 to 3 horsepower engine. This one was manufactured in November of 1944. Kind of give you a little tour of the engine before we tear it down. It's a rope start, and even had what I believe is the original rope start rope with it. Now, undoubtedly the rope's been replaced, but the handle's still there. Nice clean tank. It's a inside is nice and clean, and it's a 5-quart tank. Oil bath air cleaner. The decal here is still quite readable. I'm kind of torn. I don't know. I don't really want to repaint it. It's got most of the original paint, and I don't know if I really want to look at replacing the decal. I haven't found one exactly like it anyway. So the other side, it's a gravity feed from the fuel tank, so it's got a float bowl in it, and the muffler doesn't look to be the original arrangement, and when I get through tearing it down, I'm going to take the muffler off, take all this plumbing off, and the muffler will come right out here. All the pictures I've seen of it, that's the original layout. Has a couple groove pulley, and the engine is free, and it has compression. And the data plate is actually already off. It's over in safekeeping, but cast iron head. Fins are cast into the head, and so is this top piece. This isn't sheet metal. In fact, there's very little that's sheet metal on this thing. The bracket is looks to be a sheet metal bracket for the gas tank, bolted in with 1/2-inch bolts. Maybe something else also could bolt to that, but that seems like quite a bit of bolt to hold up the gas tank. The Magneto shroud is cast iron, and all the fins are there. And I've already actually had it part way apart and put it back together just so you could see the process of disassembling it. So it looks to be a really, actually very nice little engine. I don't know if I will, exactly what I'll do to it. I'm going to tear it down. I got to take the sump off the bottom and clean it out real good. I got to make sure the gas line, which is, by the way, the original, this is the original steel line. I'll make sure that's clear, and I'll make sure the breather is not plugged up. Clean out the float bowl. I'll take the carburetor apart and clean everything out in there. And I can't get any spark out of the Magneto. I've already spun it and held the wire against the block or near the block, and it's not sparking. So it could be something simple, but I do have to get into the mag and figure out what's going on there. So that's it for this particular segment. Next we'll start tearing into the engine. Okay, we're starting to tear into the Briggs Stratton B engine now. And we're going to just get all the accessories and everything off and get the shield or the cover off of the Magneto. Yeah, it's kind of a little on the greasy side, so I'm going to put some latex gloves on. Saves a little bit on the cleanup afterwards. And I may have mentioned this before, but I've actually took it partway apart once just to see what was going on, and then I put it back together, I guess you'd say kind of hand tight, just to so you could see the whole thing together, and then I could tear it down. So the head bolts, this is not a sheet metal cover like on a lot of engines. It's actually cast into the head, and there are 7 head bolts, and 2 of them need to come off I really don't need to take this kill switch off, but I'm going to go ahead and get it too. And the data plate was over here. I've already taken that off and just put it away out of the way. It's in real good shape, so I don't want to damage it. Not quite sure how I'm going to get this exhaust system apart. I don't want to crack the head tearing it apart, so I want to be, or the cylinder taking it apart. So I want to be sure that we have a couple pipe wrenches and kind of insulate the torque away from everything else. Okay, so we get this. We put all small pieces in this little can back here. There's a couple of half-inch bolts holding this bracket on the bottom of here. In case you're curious about this, it's a remote control for my GoPro camera. It's got also a remote video, which is really kind of a nice unit. Before we take that apart, we better stop and get the fuel line off. This is the original steel fuel line. It's kind of nice. I'll need to clean it, check it, and make sure it's not got any rust or trash in it. There's a little bit of oil in the scattered around the bottom of this. I don't know if that's because there's a seal leaking or because the breather is plugged up. On these old engines, the crankcase breather, if it gets plugged up, it's going to force oil out where you don't want it, and it's going to basically be a pressurized crankcase that's going to push oil past whatever seal is in there. So if you're getting an oil leak, probably one of the first things you want to do is take that off and check and make sure it's not completely plugged up. I've already taken a look down inside of the fuel tank with a good flashlight, and it's beautiful. It's great shape. Got a settling bowl on there. I'm going to leave that alone for right now. Just set this aside. It's just, oops. Just for the fun of it, I'm just going to go ahead and spin these head bolts back in. Next, I'm going to go after the intake, get the air cleaner and the carburetor, all that off. I'm just snugging these. I'm not torquing them at any particular value. The book says tighten them moderately tight. So I'm not sure how many foot-pounds that is, but when we put it back together, we'll make it moderately tight. Take this little heat shield off. One of the things I really want to get down to is the Magneto, so I can see what's going on there, because it it doesn't have any spark. There's a little strap underneath here that holds the air cleaner intake piping onto the carburetor. Pulled a little cotter pin off the linkage. I don't know if I can get that off right now, or yeah, it's off. Take this return spring off. It's like the gaskets are in pretty good shape, which makes me think maybe it's been gone through once before. Carburetor off. Let's see. Put it over there by the gas tank. Okay, I think we'll go after the housing here, the Magneto housing next. Okay, and on this engine, the center bolt here is on, it's a right-hand thread bolt, so it's a standard bolt. I'm going to probably have to put the air impact on it just to have a way of holding it. Oddly, the book says when you're taking the flywheel apart, getting pulling the flywheel off, when you put a puller on it, that I want you to put a rod or something inside the fins and hold it, and then of course everything that goes after that is what do you do about broken fins. So I'm thinking that maybe a better solution would be not stick something in the fins to hold it. Okay, 2 more bolts. So the goal is to get the Magneto off, or get at least exposed where we can work on it. Get the sump off so we can get to the oiling components. I believe there's a little oil pump in there. I already tried cranking on this thing with the puller with just an end wrench, and it didn't want to come. I'm going to try to get on it a little bit with the impact wrench. If that doesn't get it, then I'm going to go with a little bit of heat. See if we can get it that way. Okay, I got just taking that rod out of the air cleaner so I don't have to worry about where to put it. Okay, get the puller next. The flywheel's held on with that big nut we just took off, and it's held in position by a key. And that key, and I'm just going by what the book says here, that key is a soft key. It's not a hardened steel key like you might expect to see on most engines in this, like this location. And they say if you put a hard key in there, you run the risk of breaking the keyway, the recess that the key sits in. You're breaking that out on the crankshaft. In fact, in the book they say it will happen. Nope, it's not going to pull it. So I'm going to stop right there. Leave it like that for a minute. Grab some heat. I've already kind of cleaned the grease and oil and things off of this flywheel, but due caution is certainly recommended here. This is a small tip. I don't really want to get the rosebud out if I don't have to. So I'm just going to try to gently heat this. I'm not going to go crazy with it. There it went. You get the long bolts on this kind of puller and start putting a wrench on them. Those are sacrificial bolts. Okay. The magnets should appear to be good. Well, the three choices here are the coil's bad, and which, from what I understand, happens, but it's not as common as having something wrong with the points. And of course, the condenser could be bad. And I've certainly seen my share of engines that the condenser going bad stopped it from running, usually when I'm out on the highway somewhere with my 55 Chevy. I think I'll take the points off and have a good look at them before I go doing anything to them. I took the dust shield off of the back here, disconnected the spark plug wire, and I rotated the cam till this little This little button right here was in the uppermost position, which the reason for that probably will become evident down the road. And then take out the 4 mounting bolts and pull the mag plate out. Slide that off. So we've got the Magneto, and just for sake of curiosity, that's what the back looks like. While we're taking things apart, I'm going to go ahead and take the sump loose. That's 9/16. Anybody have any bets as to whether there's any oil in the crankcase? This thing's probably been sitting for 30 or 40 years. Okay, let's see if there's anything sticking out below. Oh yeah, and it's full of oil. Okay, well, let me get my drain out. Okay, I think the last thing we're going to take off today is the oil pump. And it's just, and I just want to make sure that we don't damage it, so I'm going to get it off of here. Then I can stand the engine back up. I just felt of the rod, the big end of the connecting rod there, and I don't feel any play in it or anything, so I'm going to assume, for now anyway, that it's good condition, in good condition. Yeah, there's a pump spring inside there. Oh, there it is. Okay. Well, thanks for watching the video on the Briggs Stratton engine, and hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up, and you're certainly welcome to subscribe too. If you have a comment you want to leave that you think I'd like to hear, well, please leave it. And until the next series of videos, happy trails.